compromise on which ones we selected for the 10, and some of the ones that I really liked didn't get included. This is one of the ones that I really liked a lot that was in somebody's wallet. And partly what I like about this is the content of the photograph, the sort of exuberance on this little boy's face, the fact that he's naked and his butt's sort of sticking out there, the sort of completely bored look that the dog has, like he's been through it a million times, and then this odd detail that this is Mike Tyson down here in the newspaper. But then the other part of it that I like, and part of what we were interested in with wallet pictures, was that through physically carrying a photograph with you on your person, that you sort of slowly destroyed it. And so you can see this fold mark and the sort of discoloration that happened. And at the time we didn't know, but this is almost becoming like a lost art, because now everyone has their photographs on their cell phone, and it's becoming less and less common to have actual physical wallet pictures.
Who still has a wallet picture? Well, yeah, there's still enough out there.
There's a few, yeah. This is another person's wallet picture, and you can see the discoloration that happened here. And this is their cat, somebody's son in an interesting outfit, somebody's mother. And we actually took the people's names and titled each piece by the person's name who owned the photograph, and then their relationship to the subject of that photograph. This is somebody's dog. Another picture I just think is amazing, but just happened to be in somebody's wallet on that particular day, because it was just very random sampling. We didn't let people know in advance so that they would pick interesting photographs or something like that. And then this is what it looked like displayed in the museum, and we let people know so they could come see their photographs in the museum. So once again, kind of trying to sort of turn the tables a bit on, in this case, who gets to be shown in the museum, and taking work from people, sort of something that in a way they curated into their wallet, and they might have shown in a particular context, like showing the images to coworkers or to people they met, but in this very sort of intimate way, and by enlarging those and framing them, putting them into this art context, that you see them in a really different way, and that it allows these people who normally have the relationship of just being an audience to the work to also be sort of empowered and feel like they also can be the producer or the curator of the work. I think I might have, yeah, this is another time that it was exhibited in a different part of the museum. So are there any questions about this project? Yeah?
How did you arrive at that number, because it's such a huge edit from 100?
Well, it was partly due to the budget that they gave us. It was part of a grant that they got that was from the Gerbode Foundation, where they gave they paid local artists to do small scale projects, and the production budget was very limited. It was once again like $5,000 or less, and so.
At the same time, with being so few of them, it makes you feel like they're very, very special.
Right. I mean, we could have shown them all at normal size or something, but we wanted to do something that, this sort of very simple act that artists are well aware of is when you enlarge something, you look at it differently, you give it more value. And so we wanted to do that also. We wanted to use that method of shifting the way that you looked at these kinds of photographs. And so that was the number that we felt like we could afford to do with the printing costs and the framing costs and all of that went into it. We really wanted to produce like a book that went along with it that had all of the images in it, but MoMA wouldn't go for that. SF MoMA wouldn't go for that, at the time at least. Any other questions about this? Yeah?
What did the wallet holders have to say?
When they were, we had like a little table set up like this, and we had kind of a little production going, and people were like standing in line to do this with us. And so we would both of us were sitting there, we were sort of processing two different people, and we had someone else working the camera stand. So we would go through their wallet, they would show us the pictures, and then we would say like, okay, how about this one? They'd be like, great, that's my daughter, da-da-da. And then we would write all that information down, and we processed all of that so that we got their name, contact information, the name of the person that was in the photograph, and then it was being rephotographed, given back to them, so we didn't keep their originals at all. And we would have, while this was going on, we would also have little interesting stories where they would tell us something about that person or something about their own lives or whatever. So all of these people, it wasn't an obligatory thing. You could completely pass this right by if you wanted to. So there's only people who were willing to do it, who were interested, and I think for the most part they were very happy to take part in it and found it, an interesting process. And I think especially for those people whose images were selected for the final ones, that it was a pretty gratifying experience to be able to go back and see it in this context. Stephen?
Qualities that you and John gravitate towards making the final selection?
Well, this is actually something I still sort of regret, because I feel like some of the more idiosyncratic ones were left out because at the time we didn't want to show ones that we thought would seem like somehow like we were making fun of anybody. We were really clear that we didn't want to do that, and I think that maybe we went overboard on that and sort of went for ones that were a little bit more conservative. And these ones that I'm showing now that didn't make the cut are still some of my favorite ones that I wish had been reproduced. We just sort of went through though and gave them like a number, like 1 to 10, and then like added it up and sort of went off of that. And I think that was probably a bad idea, actually, that we should have thought more specifically about which ones we were using for the final piece. No animals made the cut, and I was really disappointed about that. Anybody else? Yeah.
It's sort of related to that. People must have faith in the intent of your project. Well, all the projects we've seen. How do you cultivate that trust in your audience and cultivate it quickly enough that you can have that immediate kind of relationship?
Well, I mean, I think probably partly what's going on is that people can kind of detect, if you're going to try and manipulate them or do something weird. I mean, some people did say, like, are you going to do anything to this photograph? Or, it was kind of before Photoshop was really prominent, but, we could have drawn on them or something like that. And we were like, absolutely not. If we use it, we're going to enlarge it, and that's it. Like, we're not going to do anything else to it. So we just made that really clear. I mean, I think they also felt like we weren't standing on a street corner doing it. We were, we'd been endorsed by the museum. We were on the inside of, they'd already paid for their ticket, so we were like on the inside of that, and that probably gave them a certain sort of security about what was going on. But a lot of it really is just about sort of interpersonal dynamics and sort of, being a good listener, showing that you're actually interested, being actually interested, those kinds of things, I think, have more to do with it than any other kind of strategy you can come up with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else? Okay.
Oh yeah. Okay. The Wizard of Oz is a show that I did 2 years ago at the Waters Institute in San Francisco, and it's part of a trilogy of exhibitions that I've curated and I'm still curating around iconic American novels. I just threw that particular exhibition in there as sort of like example of maybe for you to see sort of like how maybe some of the ideas that you saw in the other projects sort of like develop further. And here it was really my interest to understand part of the history of the United States through the lens of literature, through the lens of 3 very iconic books, which is The Wizard of Oz, Moby Dick, and The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. And The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn is actually the show that I'm working on right now for the Waters that's going to open in late September of this year. So all of the shows were sort of like a combination of existing artworks that related to some of the themes and ideas that these books presented, and new commissions where I invited artists that I felt had an affinity to the subjects of the books, where they would create new works specifically for the exhibition. And it was about probably 60%, 70% new commissions and 30 to 40% newly created work. And in addition, all of those shows are also featuring heavily what I would call like non-art material. It would be historical artifacts that somehow relate to the history of those books in one way or the other, like the first editions, manuscript papers, letters. For example, here with The Wizard of Oz, you would see the first edition, and next to the first edition you would have the original review of the New York Times that was written in 1900 about the book. It was actually a very favorable review at that time.